Welcome to the animation section right here. To get us started, we're going to start on some 2D frame animation. As far as SHSM really is concerned, animation and video are kind of the same thing, according to SHSM, and based upon what I can give certifications for. And it actually shares a lot of the same stuff. Right when I say animation, you probably have something come into your head, whether it's your favorite animated movie or an animated meme or motion graphics. There's 2D animation, which is what we're going to do in Photoshop. There's 2D animation using a program called Adobe Animate. There is 3D animation. Maybe you've heard of Blender or some cool programs like Unreal Engine, which I'm trying to get on the school computers. I don't know, we'll see. And the line really begins to blur with motion graphics. Even just motion graphics is considered animation. Motion graphics, they've included in Premiere now. Like way back when when you had to buy a CD and put it in the computer and install Adobe Premiere that way, there wasn't motion graphics. You could create some motion to your graphics using keyframes, which is a key thing that we're going to talk about. But motion graphics is now in Adobe Premiere, and you can also make them using other things like After Effects. So there isn't necessarily, I was saying too, we're going to start in just doing some animation in Photoshop. We're going to look at Adobe Animate, because that's another animation program. And right now, I'm communicating with you, and on the screen you're seeing Character Animator, which is motion capture animation, where when I'm moving, my character is moving. And the voice is working, but it doesn't always work. For example, if I stop talking, he starts talking a little bit, but that's just from some of the sounds in the room. And maybe you've seen, like on my face, up in the top corner there, you can see it's kind of put some green dots where my eyes are. I don't know if, yeah, he's closing his eyes when I close my eyes. It's kind of figuring out my face the same way your phone would when you add those filters, and applying it to this character. And I just chose this as one of the stock characters, but you can also go in and create these puppets or download puppets from online as well. So, but they share a lot of things like frames per second, video and animation, keyframes we were saying, all these different things. We're going to get more in depth during this with a couple little projects. As you can see on the screen, I've just got Google Slides here. And down the Google slide, I've just got different pictures on each of the things. Now, up at the top, I was mentioning frames per second. In video, a lot of movies are shot in 24 frames per second, but you could go in and change your camera to film in 29.9 or 30 frames per second, depending upon the camera, how it's set up. But some of them have got higher frames per second. And if you think of me switching through these, so I'm going to start. Here's number 1. And I'm just switching through these pictures. And as I go, you can kind of see that it looks like these things are moving. But really, it's just a picture on a different slide, right? I think I might have about 20 of these. Now, let me see if I can get through all 20 of these in about as fast as I can. Maybe it'll be a couple seconds, but let's see. Oh, there's a few more, 24 of them. So I can go backwards too. Now that maybe took, I don't know, 3 seconds or something, or 2 seconds to get through those. That is our frames per second. How many frames did I get through in 1 second? So let's suppose I did it in 3. What we would want to do is 24 divided by 3. I was going at 8 frames per second. Now, I think I was doing it a little bit slower there. Or maybe I was going at 2. Maybe I did that whole thing in 2 seconds. Then I was going at 12 frames per second. So that is kind of how we can kind of figure out that frames per second. Whoa, and I went way past right there. And all of that is a video thing as well as it's an animation thing. And we're going to see how these all come together. So we're going to start with some Photoshop frame animation. And then we're going to jump into some Adobe Animate. And if you like something like this, like a motion capture, there will be time a little bit later when you can explore and take some animation or some video in whatever direction you're looking to do. In our classroom, we've got a couple tools that'll help us with animation. For something like this, we would need a webcam. That's how I'm on the screen here and it's recording me. But if you're a really good artist, we've got some tablets. And there's 2 types of tablets. There's a regular tablet, if you're used to that. If you have got a laptop that's got a touch screen or an iPad, that's a wonderful tablet that you might be able to do a bunch of the stuff with. Especially if you have a tablet or a phone for stop motion. That's a wonderful device. There'll be more information of that in the unit. Or we also have some really fancy, we only have 3 of them, some tablets that also mirror the screen so you can really edit while you're working. They take a little bit to set up and we only have 3, so we'll have to share those. But all that's coming up right here in our animation unit.